We come to our final video segment for this week, and now we actually talk about the passive voice in particular. One thing that can be confusing is that in the present tense, the middle and passive voices, the middle and passive forms are the same, and we learned them a long time ago with the regular verb luo, luomai, lue, luetai, luomitha, lueste, luontai, lueste, luontai. We know these endings and we call them deponent. But as we've already noticed, some grammarians are saying actually there are very few deponent verbs, if any. But when a verb is in the middle voice, it is not deponent. It should not be translated simply as an active voice, but it has a different meaning that's brought by the middle voice. So luomai, if we are using it in a passive sense, I am being loosed. But if we're using it in a middle voice, I am loosing for myself. The disciples might have loosed for themselves the colt which Jesus rode then into Jerusalem. But the question is, with the present tense in particular, because the forms are the same for middle and passive. Is it middle, loose for myself, or is it passive? I am being loosed. I am loosed. Simple present, I am loosed. Continuous present, I am being loosed. And the same, you are being loosed, or you are loosed, and so forth. The imperfect indicative passive is formed by the augment plus the present stem plus the endings omen, u, eto, omitha, este, onto. So they are very similar, as you remember when we learned the imperfect just a couple of weeks ago. In the middle and passive forms, again we have the same question. Are they middle or is it passive? And only the context will tell us. We know it's imperfect with the augment and the present stem, but the middle passive endings, we're not sure which one it should be. If we place these side by side, you notice et luon, I was loosing or I began to loose. I was loosed or I began to be loosed. Or possibly middle. I was loosed for myself. Or I was being loosed, I was loosed for myself. I began to be loosed for myself. That would be the middle idea. Or the passive idea, I was loosed, I was being loosed, if it is progressive. I began to be loosed, or I was being loosed. Sorry. So when we have with the present and the imperfect the same forms, whether they are middle or passive, then only the context can tell us whether it is to be translated with a middle for myself, a direct middle in this case with luo, or whether it is meant to be a passive. I was being loosed. So this ends our video segments for this week about the passive voice. You will read in chapter 24 and begin to understand and do the exercises, learning how the passive voice affects the meaning of the verb forms in the New Testament.